Growing a business and growing a young family is not for the faint of heart and will take every ounce of patience that you have. Back in 2008, my boys were 6, 3, and 3 months. My husband was working away at the time, I didn't have any childcare, and I was trying to grow this yoga business while also not wanting to compromise on actually being there and being a present mum for my kids. At that time, I didn't want to go back to my teaching career, I wanted to stay at home, but I am also ambitious and I did also need something for me. And I wanted to grow this business into something that would be financially stable without having to completely burn myself out. So I worked in those small pockets of time around my babies. I stayed focused, well, for the most part, on what it is I was building. And I tried to stay really patient in knowing that it was probably going to be something that grew slowly over time instead of expecting my business to make lots of money from the start. Gratefully, by the time my youngest was 2, my business was earning more than my full-time teaching job. And at this point, I have options. I get to choose the work that I do and don't want to do, and I get to choose how I spend my time. So if you're also trying to grow your business and raise a young family, let me save you some time and insanity and let me tell you where you need to focus your limited time and energy so that you can grow your business while staying really present for your family. You need to stay focused on your why and stop flipping around on the what. As you probably already know if you're a mum, motherhood strips away everything that is unnecessary. There will not be time for extras. So if you want to grow a business in the tiny pockets of time that you're going to get around motherhood, that time needs to be laser focused on what it is that you're growing and really connected to why you're doing it. If you don't feel strongly connected to the why, the first flu season is going to completely derail you, because when you have sick children, you're feeling under the weather yourself, you aren't going to have that inner drive to make you get up and spend those 10 minutes doing what needs to be done to keep inching yourself forward. And I know this because for a time there, I wasn't really connected to my why. I wanted to earn the money, but I didn't really feel connected to why I was doing this work in order to earn that money. Now that I do feel really connected to my why, like I can see who I'm helping, I know who I'm talking to, it does keep me going. Even when my kids are sick and I really am running on low energy, low sleep, I still know that I want to show up in this space because of the people that I know are sitting on the other side of the screen. That fuels me to keep going. So I want you to think about, why do you want to grow your business? Is it because there's someone that you're trying to help out there? So for me, when we were trying to have our 3rd baby, we went through 3 losses in less than 12 months. And a lot of my work is around that space now, helping women who are anxious in pregnancy, helping women who are trying to conceive after losses. And I can still feel the pain that I felt at that time. And so it really fills me up to know that I am helping women who are in that same desperate situation. And that is what keeps me going when some days it feels easier to not turn my camera on and film something, and I'd rather go and lay on the couch and scroll through social media. I also think it's okay if your motivation is around some selfish reasons as well. It's okay to want to earn money on your terms. And that definitely plays into it for me as well. I do keep going with this work because earning income in this semi-passive way does give me a lot of choices. And yes, I still choose to work outside of this space. I still do in-person work. I do counseling in schools. I teach yoga classes. I teach workshops. But all of that comes from a place of being able to choose based on, do I want to do this? Does this feel good for me? Does this feel aligned with the work that I want to do in the world? Rather than from a place of, do I have to go to work for this money? Which is super privileged, I realize that, but has come from building this business that can financially support me, that does now give me options. Gives me options around the work that I do now that all 3 of my boys are in school. And life is super busy and I'm doing a lot of running around. So it isn't that now that I've moved out of the baby stage, life has calmed completely down and it's cruisy. That is absolutely not the case. I could never have imagined how busy life actually gets once you've got kids in school and sport and all the rest of it. But having this business and having that why around doing this work gives me a lot of freedom. That is also a very powerful why. So even if at this early stage of your business, that is a part of your why, wanting to have that freedom around money, I think you do also need to connect with a deeper why as well, in terms of what is your business actually doing in the world and how is it being helpful, because that will keep you going long term. So once you've focused on why you're doing this, I think the biggest mistake I see in one-to-one mentoring is getting lost on the what you're doing. And I know in the early phases of business, you're trying lots of things and you're trying to see what will work, but too many women do something for such a short amount of time, or even only do it halfway, or only share about something once, and then wonder why they didn't get people to sign up for what they're offering, or wonder why they didn't grow an audience in that space. You really do have to be talking continuously about the same thing or similar things or a niche of things to really build momentum in the space that you're trying to work in. So when you decide on your idea, and a lot of women come to me with really amazing ideas and how they're going to sell it and what they're going to talk about. And I always say the same thing. That's great. Let's map out a plan of what you're going to do, what feels achievable for you in this season of motherhood. And then I want you to stick to it for 3 months minimum, but ideally for 6 months, because that length of time is what's going to give you some actual results, especially when maybe all you're doing is one video or one post a week, because it does take a lot of sharing to get any sort of real feedback on what you're creating. If after 6 months of doing the thing, so whether that's putting out a yoga video every week and getting that little 1% better each week, if after 6 months you're still not getting any traction, then at that point we can review and look at, okay, which videos worked well, which were getting some traction, can we double down on those? But too often I see women doing one video here, one reel here, a podcast episode here, a blog post here. Now they're working on a full course, but they haven't ever built any consistency in any area. So know your why, but then pick a what and do that for at least 6 months if you can. That's going to give you some really good information about what's working, what's not. And from there, you can make some really good strategic decisions on how to spend the very minimal time that you get to work on your business when you're also a busy mum. So the second thing I want you to consciously do is create a work routine that works around the season of motherhood that you are currently in. So these days, my boys are 12, 10, and 6. So how I work now is super different to how I was able to work way back when I started, when they were 6, 3, and 3 months. I definitely have way more time now where they need me one-to-one, where I need to be watching them constantly. So that level of like hypervigilance that I need to have turned on for my kids is a lot lower. There are, of course, lots of other things we're doing that fill in those gaps. But for the most part, the way that I can work now is so many worlds apart than what I needed to do back when they were babies. And I know that feels frustrating because I remember being in those early stages and feeling incredibly frustrated by how little time I had to work on the thing that I wanted to work on. And I would get started and I'd be interrupted, or I'd planned to do a lot of filming during a nap time and they wouldn't nap. And I know that almost seething rage that can build when there is something you're really motivated to do, but you're not getting the time to work on it. So I think the first step is really releasing feeling frustrated by the restraints that the season of motherhood that you're in brings, because there's no point wasting energy. If you're wasting energy getting frustrated that they're not napping, then you kind of throw out your whole day instead of being like, you know what, oh well, we're not napping, this is what we're doing instead, I'll find some time later. And often when we release that frustrated energy, then we maybe find another solution, which might be bringing in some help, asking a friend to have your kids for a little bit. But if we stay fixated on just the I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time, then that's kind of what we create. So some of the things I did when my kids were really little, I hired a uni student to come for a few hours a week. We had a 2-story house, so she'd take them down in the playroom, in the backyard, while I just did some work upstairs. I would also get my husband or my sister-in-law to take the boys to the park so I could have some time to work. During certain seasons, I've also organized kid swaps where I would have my friends' kids for a couple of hours one afternoon and then they would take mine for a couple of hours. So you can come up with lots of different solutions to how you're going to get some time to work on your business. But I think what you need to do is be really honest about the season you're currently in. And it might mean getting a day of childcare if that's what you want to do and that's what fits with your family to keep you sane while you build your business, and then the rest of the time let you be present with your baby. I think we can underestimate how much of a mental toll it takes when you're trying to task switch all the time. And I don't think it's worth feeling so frustrated and annoyed that you can't get anything done. Like, that's not a nice home environment to create if your kids feel like they're in the way or they're interrupting you. So where you can, be really honest about the season that you're in and try and make your work fit around that and call in the support that you need to make that work. And then do your best to release the fact that you're never going to feel like you get everything done. I even don't feel like that now when I have lots of uninterrupted time to work on my business, because it's an ongoing passion and because there's so many things I want to create and do. I don't think you ever feel like you're done. And I think one of the secrets is to just staying really focused, creating the time that you can work, and then getting focused during that time and doing the thing, and then letting the rest of it go so that you can be present and feel fulfilled. Because if you never let yourself rest and turn off from your business, you will be in this constant state of like, I just never get enough done. And that's really not a nice place to be for yourself or for your kids. The third thing I want you to focus on is building a legacy and not chasing a quick buck. The online world is obsessed with making 6 figures in 6 weeks. And in my experience, that is not how online business works, nor is it a metric that I think you should even chase. If you are chasing a quick buck, you're going to go for the things that in the short term earn a significant amount of money. But in the long term, they usually take lots of ongoing work to earn that same amount of money. For instance, as a yoga teacher, I could put on a workshop for a few hours on the weekend and put all my energy and time into marketing that workshop, run it in person, maybe earn $1,000 or so. In the short term, that feels like a really quick win. I've earned a lot of money in the short term. However, if I instead put my time and energy into building an online workshop and then learning how to market that, this is going to be considerably more time. It's going to take me weeks, maybe months, to put that together, to learn how to market it, to get some systems around it. However, over time, without any extra effort once I've set that up, has the potential to earn me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the lifetime. And I'll keep iterating and I'll keep changing and I'll keep updating and I'll continue to talk about it, like when I make videos for YouTube and that sort of thing. But I think having this kind of legacy approach of like, what is the work that I want to live on after me? What is the message I want to live on after me? And building something for you in 10 years' time instead of trying to earn quick money right now. It's a different business mindset, and I think has the potential to let you grow a business that will support you in 10 years' time instead of just chasing the quick buck and really getting lost with all the shiny objects. And I know that was me in the early days. I would try and do this and try and do this and try and do this. And now I really feel like I've settled on, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focusing on. And yes, lots of ideas keep popping up and I write them down and I just put them in a maybe one day if I ever have time place. I also want to take a moment to recognize the privilege that I have in saying, build a business that doesn't earn money right from the start. Because I understand that for a lot of people, you're coming to this being like, but no, I need this to make money from day one or I can't do it. And I understand where you're coming from. I am aware of my own privilege. I have built this business while being on maternity leave and being paid from my regular job, which here in Australia is fairly significant compared to other parts of the world. I have a supportive husband who's had a full-time job throughout all of this. And I have also had the ability to go and get other work when I've needed. So I've gone back into supply teaching. I've taught yoga on the side. I've done all sorts of other things. I had the privilege and the ability to build a business that was going to work for me long term rather than chasing the money right from the start. So I guess I also want to give you permission to do the same. So don't feel like you failed if you need to pick up other work that maybe is quite mindless so you can pick it up, get your paycheck, and then put all your creative energy into your business. I think that's okay. And I don't think you need to feel like a failure, even though the internet wants to tell you that because you haven't made 6 figures in 6 weeks. Number 4, I want you to prioritize your nervous system, which probably comes as no surprise given I'm a yoga teacher. Growing a business on its own, stressful. Being the primary carer of young children, also incredibly stressful. full-time jobs. You put them together and it can be a shit show for your nervous system. And I really want to encourage you to build your business from a place where you prioritize rest and breaks. And I know that's really hard when you're growing something you're incredibly passionate about because your mind is always there. I know my mind certainly is. And there were times where over nighttime I would sit down in front of the TV to relax and watch something, and I'd have my notebook and I'd be also writing notes at the same time. But what that did was I felt like I never had time off. I was always on and I never let myself just rest. Like I would watch something and I would plan some videos. Instead, what I do now is I make sure I prioritize this is work time and this is rest time. So I do get to properly switch off. And when I'm with my boys for the most part and we're doing something like we're planning to do this and planning to go there, I allow myself to switch off from my work and I don't think about it and I don't check my phone, and I try to very much create those boundaries, because if you don't, you end up feeling on all the time and you feel like you work so much so that when you get some time uninterrupted on your own to do the work, you're already kind of stretched thin and you can't put that focused energy into your work. So instead, make some clear boundaries and lines between work and play and rest, so that when you get some time to work on your business, it will be so much more powerful and productive. So if all of this is resonating with you and you'd like some more support, maybe you'd like to work one-to-one with me, I'll leave a link below where you can find out more information about that. And if you'd like to see more behind the scenes of how my business works, this is the video you'll want next.